Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. So today, I'm going to be talking about The Terrifics, number 2 from 2018. Now, I've done a review of The Terrifics number 1, so be sure and check that out if you haven't read it yet, because this issue picks up right where issue 1 left off. So this comic was written by Jeff Lemire with art by Ivan Reis. Jose Luis also did some of the pencils, and Marcelo Mayola did the colors, and he and Ivan Reis did the cover. I think the cover's pretty great. I like it. It shows something that happens in the comic, and the characters all look really good. Although Plastic Man, I know he stretches, but he always just looks so bizarre the way his neck stretches. So I never really was into Plastic Man before reading this series, but his character is really cool. So he always just kind of takes over the scene because he's so strange looking. So let me know what you think of the cover. I think it's good. It's definitely well made. But yeah, Plastic Man's always just so bizarre looking. So go ahead and start off on the first page. Picks up right where the last issue left off. There's a hologram of Tom Strong who's there talking to the team. And he says, if you're seeing this recording, it means I'm probably already dead. That means it's up to you to save the universe. So they don't know who he is. And Mr. Terrific says that he needs to remedy that very soon and find out who he is. So then they ask Phantom Girl why she didn't activate it, and she says, don't look at me, that old hunk of machinery has never done that before. So then they ask her a bit about how she got there, and then we get this next page, which is really cool. I found it to be really interesting and really well drawn. I just like the way it looks. It's really artistic and nice. So anyways, though, when she was a little girl, she was traveling with her parents on a spaceship, and it came across a strange rift in space, and her parents launched her out in a life pod because they thought they were all going to get sucked into the rift. But what ended up actually happening is the life pod she was in got sucked into the rift, and the parents ended up not getting sucked in and were left behind. So that's very interesting because it's a little different than what you'd usually get. It was somewhat of a mistake on the parents' part, but they did it because they wanted to try and save her. Anyways, really interesting, and she ends up then being stranded then in the Dark Universe. She went through the rift and was just there for years and years. It shows on this page her aging, and she's in an intangible state, so she doesn't have to eat or anything, but there's nothing going on, and she's just by herself and bored. And then they show up, and it goes back to the present time, and Metamorpho says, geez, kid, that's rough. I'm sorry you had to go through all that, and tries to give her a hug, but, she's intangible, so his arms go right through her. Thought that was kind of a sweet little scene. So then Mr. Terrific does something which is kind of, I think is a bad idea, but he decides they need to break off the antenna from the machine that showed them the hologram of Tom Strong so that he can study it. So he tries to break it off, and he's not strong enough, so he and Plastic Man and Metamorpho all together rip it off, and then on the next page we see this big explosion, and they say, whoa, what just happened? And Mr. Terrific says, I have no idea. So then it starts a rumbling, and we see on the next page that the big corpse, if you'll remember from the last issue, they're on the body of this big skeletal creature, and Plastic Man says, I think the giant corpsey thing is waking up, and indeed he is. So we see he's sitting up and he's reaching out to grab him, so they all take off, and you see Plastic Man here turned into a kind of a surfboard thing, and they're all flying along, and that's pretty cool. They're getting chased, and they actually almost get, the thing does grab Plastic Man, but Metamorpho comes back and punches him using his powers and knocks the creature back, so they're able to escape, and they get to the portal, and they fly through back to the lab where Stag and everybody is. Mr. Terrific says, out of the way, Stag, you opened this portal, but it's up to us to close it. So they get there, and then we see the fingers of the creature reaching through the portal. So that's what we see on the cover, too, is that big hand chasing them. So they close the portal, and it's really gross. And even Phantom Girl says, "That is so gross, I think I'm going to be sick," because the fingertips of that creature get cut off when the portal closes. So the fingertips are left behind. And then we see that Rex is in a relationship with one girl here named Sapphire. So they kiss, and then there's a funny little part here where Plastic Man's kind of the comedic character, and he says, "Now I think I'm going to be sick." And Phantom Girl says, "Oh, I think they're sweet together." So then she changes back to her tangible form, and that's the first time she's been able to in a long time. But when she does, this weird explosion reaction kind of thing happens, so she goes back to her phantom form, and they don't know why. So Mr. Terrific says he's going to find out why, and he takes some of the stuff from Mr. Stagg, and it was originally Mr. Terrific's anyways, but he takes all that stuff, and he just gets in his sphere and leaves. So everyone's kind of like, wow, what a jerk. And he kind of was not that likable in this issue, but I think it's going to show character development on his part. Like, he's really smart, but he doesn't always take everything into consideration. Like, taking that antenna, put them all in danger, and he says he's going to help Phantom Girl, but he just leaves. And even Metamorpho here, you can see, he says, "What a dick." So he leaves. And as soon as he gets a little ways away, we see that weird reaction thing happening again. It's happening to all four of them. So then Mr. Terrific comes back, and he says, "Something happened to us in the Dark Multiverse when we removed the antenna. I think we're all stuck together." And that's how the issue ends. So pretty cool, now they are really stuck together. We knew going into this they've been called a family of heroes, so it's kind of a band of misfits that are all forced to work together. And as they showed in this issue, Mr. Terrific wanted to go off and do his own thing. So it's going to show a lot of character development, I think. The art is really terrific. Ivan Reis is one of my favorite artists, and Jeff Lemire's been a proven great writer. So I'm really interested to see where this series continues. I like it a lot. It's a lot of people consider it to be the best in the DC New Age of Heroes line. I definitely think it's in the top 3. I like it and Damage a lot. So yeah, this is probably the best one. Although we'll have to see where they go with it. The one thing I kind of would the one drawback in the issue is that it was kind of short. It actually didn't have as many pages as it could have, but that's alright. I believe it had a pretty good-sized preview comic at the end for another issue. Alright, that's all for now. Let me know down in the comments what you thought. Have you been reading the Terrifics? What'd you think of this issue? Do you like the roster so far? And of the 4, which is your favorites? Do you like Phantom Girl, Mr. Terrific, Plastic Man, or Metamorpho the best? Alright, that's all for now. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't subscribed, and as always, thanks for watching and being a part of DC Fans United.
End of line.